Alright guys, thanks again for tuning in with BuiltJ. Today we're going to be doing a thermostat on an older Honda Civic. It's the 1.6 liter non-VTEC motor. So let's jump right into it. We are going to take off the cover of the radiator cap. So we'll take that off and put that aside. That way all the fluid from the radiator can drain out. And there's going to be a plug right underneath the radiator, which we'll want to loosen and let that drain out. I'll show you here in a second. It's hard to see and get a good camera shot of it, but it's basically at the bottom of the radiator where this hose meets at the bottom, but it's not on this side, it's more right in the middle. I'm going to go ahead and loosen that nozzle now so it can drain. I have a pan set underneath the vehicle. And you can hear it draining, so we'll let that drain. Okay, so now once it's done draining, you can start removing the stuff for the radiator. So you can move the overflow tank. Just pull that out. If it has a clamp, go ahead and then unclamp it. Pull it off. You can put it aside. You want to take off these clamps. With that hose off, now I'm going to take off the radiator bracket. Now we can move on to removing the clamp that goes to the thermostat housing. Looks like it's a screw clamp. Alright. Slide it back. Once you slide it back, once these hoses are clamped down, they tend to get stuck into place. So just wiggle them left to right. Or even up and down. Usually works too. Twist them left and right, you'll feel them break loose. And then you should be able to pull out. Alright. That is beautiful. That is all set. Now we have access to the thermostat housing. Alright. We'll unplug that sensor. And now we'll unscrew those two 10mm bolts. So once you remove that bolt, those two bolts, there's two bolts. One right there, the other down below. So goes in just like that. Down there you see the orientation of the thermostat. you have that hole, that breather hole right here. So you want that facing upwards, not downwards. And then the gasket, so we'll go ahead and replace both of those. Now, make sure you put a drain pan underneath the tranny because it might leak some more coolant even though you did flush the system. It's a little bit of coolant left over in the water tube. Let's go ahead and install the new one. And we removed the radiator. It's coming off an automatic vehicle, so there are two transmission cooling lines, and they're right down here. One right here and the other right here. I had a fitting down below right there which was leaking transmission fluid, so I fixed that up and tightened it, and then I'm gonna go ahead and reinstall everything and make sure everything's good, putting some new clamps on there and along with the coolant and new thermostat. This is a quick comparison of the old and the new thermostat. The thermostat on the left hand side is the old one, and the new thermostat and gasket is on the right hand side. And it looks like this old thermostat may have been stuck closed. If you take a look at both of the bottom pistons, that left one looks closed to me. The only way that you can really test a thermostat is if you get a thermometer, usually a digital one where you can just point at the thermostat and that'll give you the temperature. I believe these open up at 175 or 180 Fahrenheit, and you'll see the thermostat actually open and close. If the thermostat's bad, then it won't open at all. And this one looks pretty bad. Let's see if I can get a good focus on this. But there's some crud in there. See that black stuff? That's how it looked when I pulled it out. So this one may be no good, and it's kind of all around. So we'll install the new one. Okay, so we're gonna install the thermostat in like this with that hole on the top. Not like this, but like that, facing upwards towards the valve cover. So we'll install that. And it should fit right into place. Push it down all the way around so it seats correctly. You don't want it to get pinched. And then we'll reinstall our thermostat housing. So let's put those bolts on there now. Now that you have the thermostat housing all connected, back up the two bolts, torque down. You can go ahead and plug your sensor back in. Alright. So we'll install the radiator back in. Just place it back in. Don't forget to plug in the fan wire. Just right here. Popping into place. Don't forget your overflow tank. Slide that into place. Plug the hose back in. Get your bracket. Hand tighten that for now. And we want to plug in our transmission lines. The right transmission line goes to the right transmission line. The left transmission goes to the left transmission line on the tranny. So we'll just go ahead and plug those up now into the designated areas. Now that you have the bottom hose tightened, you do the top clamp hose, tighten that as well. Go ahead and put your top radiator hose back on. Clean off any corrosion if there's any corrosion with a wire brush. If you haven't already put the drain plug on the radiator, go ahead and install the drain plug back on the radiator. And then we'll go ahead and we will fill this up with coolant. Alright, now that we got the radiator topped off, cap on, start it. Let it run for a little bit so all the air bubbles can get themselves out.